So, Deathbound is a new Souls-like that's trying to fit in, and it's one of those things where there are so many Souls-likes releasing. You've got to do something that really stands out and do it well enough to get anywhere in this genre. And the thing that Deathbound is trying to do is be a single-player, one-of-a-kind, party-based Souls-like. So basically, as you're playing, you're not just controlling one character, you control up to 4. And that is all done by simply pressing a button on the D-pad. You can switch between the characters, and you can use something called sync to sync their attacks. So you attack with one character, and like midway through that attack, you switch to another character, and it gives you a powerful attack when you exit out of that morph. And some of the reviews, like the couple on Steam at least, the ones that you'll find like actually in like around the About This Game section on Steam, near the recent events and announcements, the ones from like your gaming media outlets, whatever you want to call them, not from actual users. One of them from Gaming Bible says, if you've been scratching that FromSoft itch lately, the upcoming Deathbound has you covered. And another one from The Escapist says, Deathbound turns Souls-like combat into rhythmic party swapping, and I'm hooked. And then I've seen a review or two give it an 8 out of 10. Then I've seen a lot of actual content creators, not these outlets, give the game really, really bad reviews. But what we're doing in this video is going through if I believe, my personal opinion, if I believe Deathbound is worth playing. And starting off, it seemed interesting. The combat's okay. You've got all your typical mechanics. You've got your parrying, your blocking, your dodging, your light attacks, your heavy attacks, so on and so forth. You'll start this game off with one single character, and there's a section where you go through and you get like a little backstory to the character. Then as you go through the game, you unlock new characters, you get a backstory to those as well. And you also get the very typical scripted boss death sort of cutscene, if you want to call it that. Basically where you fight a boss really early on, but it's scripted for you to die to it, so it can play you a cutscene and progress you into the game. You get all of that typical stuff that a Souls-like does. But the way this game does it is so generic. Literally the only thing that stands out for it is the party-based system that doesn't even feel that good to use. The reason I say it doesn't feel that good to use is you've got your sync bar at the bottom of the screen. When you do an attack with one character, you can switch and use another and get a strong attack. But it's just like, what is the point? I'm playing this game that's designed to be difficult. I don't want to have to rely on switching to different characters and messing around with all that stuff. I just want to focus on one thing at a time. I want to focus on either traversing the area, figuring out where I've got to go, or figuring out how to take a boss down, how to get around a group of enemies. I don't want to be in the middle of combat going, right, press right on my D-pad, switch to this character, get a heavy attack, press left on my D-pad, switch to this one because this one's got more stamina. I don't want to be doing all of that. Like, I don't feel as though a party-based system is a good idea in a Souls-like. Other genres, absolutely go for it. But a Souls-like, I feel as though they should be focused entirely on balancing the difficulty so that it doesn't hold your hand. And it should also be focusing on like the boss mechanics, the enemies, and like, because the AI in this game feel rather brain dead, especially towards the start of the game. A lot of times you'll have enemies just slowly walk towards you. One thing that really frustrated me in this one was every now and then, like, I'm going to say a good 25 to 30% of the time I was attacking enemies, some of my attacks would not actually hit the enemy. They would hit like the environment around the enemy, and they wouldn't deal any damage. But when you come across an elite enemy, it's just attack this enemy, get it killed. It seems as though the only sort of mechanics you've really got to get a grip on is bosses. Most of the enemies are just your little like trash mobs. They take like 2 or 3 hits and they're dead. They're not going to deal much damage to you. They're just kind of in the way. And they're basically spaced out so that you kill an enemy, you run 15-20 seconds in the direction of progress, you kill another enemy. I think within the first half an hour of the game, there was only one time, like outside of the backstory sections, actually like in the game world, there was only one time I faced 2 enemies at the same time. Or maybe it happened twice if you count the little snail enemies, which really are no bother at all. I'm going to say they're a lower level than a trash mob. And one thing I will give the developers a lot of credit for is they have an arachnophobia filter. So if you're scared of spiders, you can put the filter on. I think there's 2 levels to it, if I remember correctly. You've got like a light filter and an intense one. I mean, almost every single Souls-like out there features spiders, but it was nice of them to think about arachnophobia and add a filter in. But that's like basically all I've got to say that's positive about the game. It's a stupid filter so that you don't face spiders if you have a fear of them. Because everything else in this game is so generic, it's unbelievable. I think there is literally one thing that separates it from every other Souls-like out there, and that is the party-based system, which in my opinion is not a great system. I mean, it's okay, it's something new, it's something fresh for the genre, if other developers are going to go and use something like that in the future, but it's not being done in the best way it could have been done, at least in my opinion. I don't know how they would have done it any better, I'm not a game developer, but I feel as though it could have been done better, and it just got frustrating to play. I don't know what it is, but it feels as though ever since Elden Ring, you have to do something really, really out there and execute it perfectly to stand a chance. But not just because of Elden Ring, also because ever since, I'm going to say Elden Ring, it might have been happening way before, I don't know, but at least since Elden Ring, it seems as though we get Souls-like after Souls-like after Souls-like after Souls-like. Everyone is trying to cash in on that hype. And there's a lot of games that will do like one thing different. And they'll try and stand out with that one feature, but oftentimes they will fail with it. Now, overall, if you're really into Souls-likes, you're probably gonna get some enjoyment out of this. But for me personally, it was literally just another Souls-like. There was nothing that stood out about it besides the party system. Everything felt really generic. A lot of the AI felt rather brain dead. It was mostly just 2 or 3 hits and they were dead. And not only that, oftentimes in games you'll see it where you have to dodge an attack, or there's something you have to do to stagger an enemy and stop them attacking you. In this game, all you've got to do is attack that enemy, and if your attack lands first, it cuts their attack out. And I feel that should have been done a little bit differently as well. I don't know how they could have done it again, but I feel it should have been done a little bit differently because at least within the first portions of the game, it doesn't feel anything like a Souls-like in terms of its difficulty. There's nothing difficult about this game whatsoever. I don't know how much that ramps up in the later stages of the game or anything, but based on what I've played, it's not actually that difficult whatsoever. I'd say the difficulty actually comes more from traversing and finding your way around than what it does when it comes to learning mechanics and killing enemies, which is very, very odd for a Souls-like. And this game is not early access. I'm not entirely sure how much it's going to cost because I got early access to the game, like I got to play it before release. So I don't think they're going to go around changing mechanics and things like that. So when it comes to the question, is it worth playing? If you are really, really into Souls-likes and you want to scratch that itch, you want to play another Souls-like badly, then I'm not going to say this is an awful game. It works. I didn't come across any bugs or any performance issues or anything like that. But for me personally, and for anyone that's looking for a very, very good Souls-like, this is definitely not it. But as always in these Is It Worth Playing videos, it's all based on my personal opinion, my experience from the game and everything like that. And that is exactly what I think of Deathbound. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about this game in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.